The Bitcoin reserve in the USA was a huge topic during Donald Trump's election campaign, as well as first months of his presidency. It helped Bitcoin to reach new heights and promised to push its price even further up in case the USA invested in BTC. But Trump decided against risking taxpayers' money and chose a more careful approach. For many, that was the end of hopes for Trump sending Bitcoin to the moon. And it's true, the Bitcoin reserve narrative lost momentum. But not all hope is gone. I'm Anna, and this is the Eye of Crypto. Stick around as I tell you who might bring the Bitcoin reserve idea back to life. Let's quickly recap the federal Bitcoin reserve situation. At the beginning of his campaign for presidential election, Trump started to flirt with the crypto community. He was generous with huge promises like ending the war of crypto, creating legislation that would help the industry to develop, establishing the strategic Bitcoin reserve and the US digital asset stockpile, and overall making America a global crypto leader. At that time, every big promise Trump made was driving Bitcoin's price up, and the market was generally overhyped about Trump. Well, you know how it's like when something in crypto gets overhyped. Press like if you try to keep a clear head and avoid getting caught up in the hype. When Trump stepped to the office, things got somewhat slower. It is obvious that crypto is not his number one priority, but still, he was hinting here and there that big changes for the world of blockchain are coming. This helped to fuel the expectation about crypto reserve, but these hints had less and less positive impact on the crypto market. However, as the time passed, the market demanded action, not just social media endorsements. And then Trump's vision of strategic crypto reserve started to take shape. Many were left unimpressed. Don't get me wrong, Trump still delivered on his promise, but did it in such a careful way that this reserve is basically something that the USA already had before him. This is what Trump suggested for the reserve. The strategic Bitcoin reserve would be funded using confiscated Bitcoin from criminal and civil asset forfeitures. Other agencies could also transfer their seized BTC to the reserve. The US wouldn't sell these holdings, treating them as a long-term asset. If more BTC were to be acquired, it had to be done without additional taxpayer costs. This means that the USA will not make real investment in Bitcoin, something for which many hoped. And overall, the market was not satisfied with this. Despite the fact that Trump made a reserve and held the first crypto summit in history in the White House, the price for Bitcoin refused to grow. And with Trump's escalating trade wars, first with Mexico, Canada, and China, and now seemingly with the whole world, investors grew uneasy. Has Trump lost his magic touch? Instead of pumping crypto, his policies triggered market fear. The fear and greed index dipped into extreme fear territory. Does this mean that the end of the Bitcoin reserve dream is coming? Well, not necessarily. In the US, there is another power capable of making the crypto reserves great again. I am speaking of states. The USA is a federation with a strong tradition of the autonomy of the states, and some states are performing far better economically than many countries in the world. And they can possibly bring some life back into the reserve narrative. Just look at this map. All the colors except gray and red represent the states that are considering having the strategic reserves in crypto. And just to show you how serious the states are about crypto, please look at another map. Orange here are the states that introduce some kind of legislation about blockchain and crypto. So states are indeed serious players in this game. And there's still a race ongoing for which state will become the first to adopt the reserve. Now, Arizona and Arkansas are the leaders, laws there are almost passed, and they're at the final stages. Texas and Oklahoma are not so far behind. And Texas, for example, is a very wealthy state, so if it starts investing in Bitcoin, this will be very huge. So let's look at the Texas bill more closely. The Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve would be managed by the state comptroller and invest in top cryptocurrencies. It would be funded through legislative actions and would only hold assets with an average market cap of at least $500 billion over the past year. An advisory committee of crypto experts would oversee the fund. And if this bill passes, it could be a game changer, not only for Bitcoin's price but also by creating a FOMO effect, pushing other states and even countries to follow the suit. Can something go wrong? Well, of course, and for some challenges we might have Donald Trump to blame. First, his tariff wars create turbulence in the markets, so by the time the states would consider investing in BTC, the asset may be in a very volatile stage. And this has already happened and some states decided against the reserve during the turmoil in the market. Second, Trump had his reasons not to risk taxpayers' money for acquiring BTC. No matter how much we love Bitcoin, it is still volatile and unpredictable, so perhaps it was wise of Trump not to take a gamble. And finally, some states might follow Trump's lead on how to get the crypto without spending money. I'm speaking of creating the reserve out of confiscated crypto. I am personally not a big fan of this idea, but Trump has shown that it could be a solution, and some states might choose to do the same. For example, California's new bill would allow the state to claim unclaimed digital assets after just 3 years of inactivity. What do you think about this way of acquiring crypto? Please share your thoughts in the comments. So, is the strategic crypto reserve still possible? Absolutely. And if states take the lead instead of the federal government, we might see a more decentralized and resilient system. Will this turn Trump's vision into something even better? Well, only time will tell. Until then, subscribe so you don't miss the next updates, and I'll see you in the next video.